Welcome to my best of 2019 list. This is a list of my favorite movies from the previous year. It is not a top 10 list, it is a list of all of my favorite movies from the previous year, movies that I gave an 8, 9, or a 10 to typically. It's not a list where I go in depth of particularly of any particular movie, because most of these movies I've already reviewed to some extent, and I don't feel like going in super in depth on this, as this list has 15 movies to go through on it anyway. I'm not going to be reviewing anything with a 7 or under because they're good, some are good, but that would take a lot of time. So I've made this list specifically for only 8s and aboves so that I can get really the best of the year out of the way. So with those few little rules out of the way, let's get into number 15. Number 15, we have Shadow to kick off this list. A movie that is directed by the man behind The Great Wall. But this movie is much better than The Great Wall. It features a gorgeous cinematography, mostly in grayscale, looking almost like paintings, which accentuates the splashes of violence and blood in the movie. And the performances are great, and the story, while it's a little political drama, starts a little bit slow, which is why it's so low on this list. But once it wraps up and everything comes together, it's immensely satisfying. So definitely check it out.
讲的人性，不是黑也不是白，反倒是中间很丰富的那种人性的那种色彩。
要谈，
那我不听了。
At number 14, we have Demon Tino, which is probably the funniest movie of the year and the most surprising. This is a movie I expected absolutely nothing from. I hadn't seen much talk about it, much buzz about it, so I went in with fairly low expectations, and this movie blew the socks off me. I have not laughed harder in a movie this year. It is absolutely hilarious. It's a wonderful ode to B movies, the kind of movies I miss seeing. It is so silly, it's so goofy and so self-aware that it keeps pushing it every step of the way. It gets crazier and crazier and crazier, even though it's just about a soccer player who retires because he missed a goal. It's so simple, and yet you have things like two evil twins, you have a lesbian that falls in love with a guy because he grows boobs, you have a cloning process, you have a bikini-clad fencing fight. It's amazing. There is so much to like about this movie and so much to talk about, but I won't get into too much because I want people to go in as blind as I was.
Rendan, où estão? O que você faz?
Então tu foste adotar a miúdo! Quer dizer, anda toda a gente a mandar os refugiados embora e aquilo que tu fazes é trazer um refugiado para que passou pelas ventas para adotar a miúdo! Olha, nós ainda achávamos que tu estavas a fazer isto que era para conquistar os teus fãs, não! Quer dizer, tu merda! Estás a ouvir? Não!
So at number 13, we have Knives Out. If you had told me that a whodunit made by the man that made The Last Jedi would make this list, I probably would have laughed in your face, because I would not have believed you at all. But I absolutely love this movie. From the first time I watched it to the second to the third, I've absolutely loved watching this movie. It's incredibly entertaining, it's incredibly well shot, it's cheeky, it's fun, it's clever, it has great characters, it has great performances, it's really well made, and the whodunit aspect actually is fresh and interesting here, which is the most surprising thing. It's not a movie where you could see a twist coming or call the twist too early. It's just perfectly balanced, and it plays on your expectations for what you expect from a whodunit. So definitely worth checking out for sure. What do you want?
Why are you here?
I'm here at the behest of a client.
Who?
I cannot say, but let me assure you this. My presence will be ornamental. You will find me a respectful, quiet, passive observer of the truth.
At number 12, we have Waves, the new movie from Trey Edward Schultz, who did It Comes at Night, which is a masterpiece, and Krisha, which is a borderline masterpiece. Waves is probably the weakest of his 3 movies, but it's still great, obviously, because it's at number 12 on my list. This movie stars some kind of more unknown actors. There's a guy from This Is Us, there's a guy from Loose in this, whose names I'm forgetting, of course, but they are amazing in this movie, particularly the young kid from Loose. He is phenomenal in this movie and deserves some kind of Best Actor nomination because he absolutely kills this role. And the first half of this movie is all about his character and his life and all the poor decisions he makes, and it makes for an incredibly tense and traumatizing experience. And then the second half is about his sister, and that half is a lot more hopeful, a lot more lighthearted, sort of, a lot more upbeat is probably a better word than lighthearted, and that is the stuff that I cared for less than the first half, and that's why it's lower on this list, but it's still a gorgeous movie. It's incredibly well shot, all the locations are amazing, the color palette of the movie is gorgeous, there's a lot of aspect ratio changes that actually make sense. It's just a wonderful movie if you want to be sick in the first half and joyous in the second half. So definitely check out Waves.
You better come in to every single match with a plan. Because if you don't have a plan, I can tell you right now, your rival has a plan. And it will manifest itself in your defeat, and you will lose.
And up! Over your head! Ready!
Number 11 is Birds of Passage, which is sort of a gangster movie, but it's less a gangster movie and more a movie about family and culture and what becoming a gangster does to both of those things. It's a movie about a very tight-knit family who wants to get the upper hand on the marijuana trade in their immediate vicinity and then to expand from there. And the whole movie is about what happens between this tight-knit family and how trying to make their mark on the marijuana deals changes their family unit and changes the culture that they all want to represent. And it is an incredibly powerful and touching movie with sequences that are absolutely brutal. So it's a movie that, while it's hard to watch at some points, it's definitely rewarding and satisfying as you go through it. At number 10, we have A Hidden Life, the new movie from director Terrence Malick, which could very well be the best-looking movie of the year. Every shot of this movie is gorgeous, and the locations that they choose to shoot in are stunning. Every location in this movie is so perfectly cinematic in a way where it is gorgeous, but not overly gorgeous. It's just like, oh, every shot is so involving, so enthralling, and the actors do a great job, even though a lot of them don't seem to be traditional actors. And the World War II setting does make for some incredibly emotional, incredibly tense sequences where our main character is deciding whether or not to swear allegiance to Hitler. And because of its length, it's 2 hours and 50 minutes, which I feel like it could be cut down a little bit, but because of that length, you're able to get really involved in this world, really enthralled with the characters, and it makes for everything to feel more believable, more real. And I really enjoyed that overall. The emotional scenes are more emotional because of it, and you do actually feel for the characters because of this, because you feel like you know them.
Don't you think you ought to consider the consequences of your actions for them? You'd almost surely be shot. Yes. Your sacrifice would benefit no one.
At number 9, we have A Marriage Story, which is the latest film from Noah Baumbach, and it stars Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson. This movie is wonderful. It's such a simple little movie, and yet, even though everything about it is simplistic, like the camera work and the premise, it just wrings out so much drama and so much emotion that I honestly didn't expect it to have. The leading performances of Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson are absolutely fantastic. They kill this movie. It is the performance movie of the year, and watching them traverse this unknown landscape of divorce, of lawyers, of kids, of all of this stuff that divorce entails, it was mostly charming, but also deeply heartbreaking. It's one of those movies where I watch it and I go, why would I get married? Why would I ever want to get married if this is a possibility to happen to me? Because it makes divorce look just horrible and just unbearable to get through. But it does tie it up really nice at the end with a hopeful ending that is pretty wonderful.
I thought that if Henry was happy here and my show continued, that we might do LA for a while.
I was not privy to that thought process.
Oh, the only reason we didn't live here is because you can't imagine desires other than your own, unless they're forced on you.
Okay, you wish you hadn't married me, you wished you had a different life, but this is what happened.
So what do we do?
I don't know.
At number 8, we have The Irishman, a new movie from director Martin Scorsese, and it stars Joe Pesci, Robert De Niro, his typical band of gangster actors. And this is a return to form for Robert De Niro, as it is a gangster movie. It's a Netflix gangster movie with groundbreaking special effects for digital de-aging. It's an incredibly well-made, well-shot movie that's over 3 hours long, and yet it doesn't feel at all that it's 3 hours. It's perfectly paced, it has amazing performances, and it tells the story of this man's life in a 3.5 hour runtime, and it does it excellently. So definitely check it out.
I'm going to prison because of you. You dumb motherfucker. This is what you wanted. You wanted to put me in jail. Tell me now, so I could kill you. Right here. Right here! Where are you going?
I mean, where am I going? I quit. That's where I'm going.
What are you quitting for?
But wait, you're gonna call me a mother? You could talk to them like that. You can't talk to me like that.
No, that doesn't apply to you.
At number 7 is Climax, the latest movie from Jasper Noé. And this is a movie starring Sofia Boutella and a bunch of actors I don't know the names of, and it is a complete and utter nightmare. The first half of the movie is all about these dancers dancing about, drinking this Kool-Aid, having a little party, and then they find out that the Kool-Aid, whatever they're drinking, is spiked, not with alcohol, but with LSD, with acid, I believe. And then the last half of the movie is a complete and utter nightmare of these characters losing their minds, essentially, because some of them haven't taken it before, and since it's acid, you know, you go crazy, you lose your mind if you don't know what you're taking, and you have so many people in your immediate vicinity. So these people are going nuts, and most of the movie is shot with these incredible long one takes of just people freaking out, and by the end of the movie, I had a pit in my stomach. It's just a horrible movie to watch, and I would highly recommend it because it is so well made, and it does get this really visceral reaction out of you, and Sofia Boutella is really good in the movie as well. It's definitely worth at least one watch, maybe not any more than that because it is a nightmare, but yeah, check it out. So at number 6, we have One Cut of the Dead, which is a wonderful little movie, a movie about a zombie outbreak that these people have to take care of. But the movie is not about that, it's about the meta movie about that, because the whole movie is about the making of that one cut shot about this zombie outbreak. The first 20 minutes is about this one cut take of all of these zombies attacking these people. And then the rest of the movie is about you seeing why all the decisions were made in that one cut take that were made. and it's an incredibly charming, lovely movie. I had a smile on my face for 99% of it. It's so entertaining, it's so endearing. The first little 20-minute one-cut take is a little hard to get through because of the decisions that were made on it, but since you know later on why those decisions were made, it makes it all the more rewatchable. So definitely check that out.
いや、古澤さん、いや。そんな無茶な企画あるわけないでしょ。え？
いや、マジやで。マジ。
やっていただけますか？
At number 5, we have Burning, which is a South Korean Great Gatsby movie, essentially. It's a movie about 3 friends and one that goes missing and then another that is trying to find out what happened to her. It's a very simple movie, but it really packs in a whole lot into such a simple premise. The performances are excellent here.
부시맨들에게는 두 종류의 굶주린자가 있대. 굶주린자, 영어로 헝거. 리틀 헝거와 그레이트 헝거. 리틀 헝거는 그냥 배가 고픈 사람이고 그레이트 헝거는 삶의 의미에 굶주린 사람이래. 우리가 왜 사는지, 인생에 어떤 의미가 있는지 그런 거를 늘 알려고 하는 사람.
At number 4, we have Uncut Gems, which is the new movie from Adam Sandler, who gives his best performance since Punch Drunk Love. But not only is this an Adam Sandler movie, this is a Safdie brothers film who did Good Time from a year or 2 ago, starring Robert Pattinson, and they bring their trademark style to this Adam Sandler key role movie of intense craziness and immense anxiety. This movie is back to front anxiety trip. It's incredibly well shot, it's incredibly well written. The character Adam Sandler plays is very sleazy and very fun.
That's $1 million opal you hold, straight from the Ethiopian Jewish tribe. I mean, this is old school, Middle Earth.
Got a dinosaur gym in this, man.
The dinosaurs, that's right, the dinosaurs stared at this. It's 110 million years old, at the least.
Fuck basketball, basketball.
Can't lean on the glass, kid. All right? Told you not to leave.
At number 3, we have Portrait of a Lady on Fire. This is one of the best movies of the year that is barely out anywhere. So as soon as it does come out, I would highly recommend it because it's truly a masterclass in directing, performances, and writing. This movie was so amazing. The last half of this movie is some of the best cinema I've seen all year. Not only do you completely buy the relationship at the heart of the film, but when they start talking to each other about what each other likes, then you truly see that they have developed a bond that maybe you wouldn't see otherwise. And there are some amazing little setup payoffs at the end of the film that are really heartbreaking to watch. And the last shot of the film particularly is absolutely devastating.
Baissez la tête et vous touchez votre front. Quand vous perdez le contrôle, vous haussez les sourcils. Et quand vous êtes troublé, vous respirez par la bouche.
So at number 2, we have Parasite, Bong Joon-ho's Parasite, which is a movie about a family that leeches their way into another rich family. The movie is excellent, it's incredibly well made, the cast is superb, there's some amazingly tense sequences of this family frantically trying to run about, trying to clean things up, the music is amazing, and I really love the themes of classism, the themes of violence. It has just everything you could want out of a movie just packed into this 2-hour runtime. All the characters are incredibly interesting and well developed, and you like most of them, and by the end, it hits you with a lot of this moral ambiguity that it just lets you solve for yourself. So that's why it's number 2.
그러니까 다이한테서 들은 바에 의하면 그 아줌마가 엄청 심한 복숭아 알러지, 알레르기가 있다는 거야. 그 왜 복숭아 그 겉에가 완전 다 털이잖아. 그 털 1m 근처에만 가도 온몸이 새빨개지고 호흡 곤란해, 천식에 아주 쌩 난리가 난다네.
And at number 1, I believe we have the undisputed movie of the year, which is The Lighthouse. This movie is perfection on every possible level. The performances are amazing from Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe, who deliver some of the greatest monologues I've seen in a movie in a long time. Willem Dafoe is perfectly maniacal. Robert Pattinson is perfectly insane, kind of, but you can't really tell. Most of the movie is left ambiguous, left up to thought, left up to the viewer to fill in the details. It's that kind of movie where you feel gross the entire time, the entire runtime. You have this eerie, unsettling vibe throughout the whole thing, but it's also intensely funny. There's a lot of sequences in this movie where it wrings out some great dark humor that makes me laugh hysterically every time I watch it. And it's not just the farts, which are great as well, but everything in this movie also feels like it has a payoff. Everything that it sets up, it pays off later, and it makes it so that you're constantly involved, constantly thinking, and constantly on the edge of your seat. It is the best movie of the year by far.
You're an open book. A picture, says I. A painted actress screaming in the footlights. A bitch what wants to be coveted for nothing but being born, crying about the silver spoon what should have been yours. Now look at you, crying. Boo, boo. What you gonna do?
So that's it. That's the best of 2019 list. That's my best of 2019 lists. I'm sure you have qualms with it. I'm sure you have different placements for it, but that's my list. So leave your lists in the comments, I guess. Tell me what you think should have made the list. Tell me what you like more than another movie. Tell me what kind of different placements you like. Whatever you want to do, you can leave it in the comments below. But for now, I'm gonna go do some things and throw this pine cone for this dog that's slobbering everywhere. So that's it. Goodbye.